Some scars never fade. Some monsters are born, not summoned. Tonight's story is about a girl who tried to escape her pain and became something far worse. Mira sat alone on a weathered bench in the crowded school courtyard, poking at a bowl of instant noodles with a plastic fork. The noise around her, laughter, chatter, and footsteps, felt distant, like she was in her own world, separated from everyone else. She didn't fit in here, not like the others. Her parents, struggling to make ends meet, had sent her to this school. They couldn't afford anything better. Mira didn't mind. It was just part of life. Still, she often wished things could be different. Then, out of nowhere, the laughter from a group of girls nearby stopped. Mira's heart skipped a beat. She knew what was coming. The girls, led by Anna, the queen of cruelty, were walking toward her. Anna always had that look, like she was on the hunt. "Oh my gosh," Anna's voice rang out. "Look at this! Instant noodles? You're so pathetic!" The other girls giggled, their voices sharp with mockery. Mira felt heat rush to her cheeks. She didn't have time to respond before one of the girls added, "Ew, how gross. Don't you ever eat something better? Oh wait, you're poor." Mira's stomach twisted with embarrassment, but she forced herself to meet their eyes. "Can you just leave me alone?" Anna's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a sneer. "What did you say?" Before Mira could react, Anna grabbed her hair, yanking her forward. The noodles spilled onto the ground. Mira's body jerked as Anna pressed her foot down on the mess, grinding it into the dirt. Pain shot through Mira's scalp, but it was nothing compared to the rush of humiliation flooding her chest. Anna leaned down, her breath hot against Mira's ear. "What did you just say?" she hissed. Around them, students watched in silence, some trying to hold back their laughter, others eager to see what would happen next. Mira's throat tightened, and her voice cracked as she whispered, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Please just leave me alone." Anna let go of Mira's hair, but only to pick up a thick hardcover book from her bag. With a cruel smile, she threw it at Mira's face. The book struck her cheek, and Mira winced, feeling the sharp sting of the corner digging into her skin. Blood began to trickle from the cut. "Finish all my assignments by tomorrow, or else," Anna said, her tone cold and indifferent. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her followers trailing behind her like mindless shadows. Mira sat there for a long moment, stunned. Her face burned with humiliation. Her cheek throbbed, and the warm trickle of blood made her head spin. She quickly picked up her things, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. As the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, Mira dragged herself to the restroom. The buzzing fluorescent lights above flickered as she splashed cold water on her face, ignoring the stares of students passing by. The cut on her cheek stung, but it was the emotional pain that hurt the most. Looking at her reflection in the mirror, Mira tried to steady her breath. "You made it through today," she told herself. But deep down, she knew that tomorrow would probably be the same. Maybe worse. And yet, something inside her shifted. Maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. Mira's footsteps felt heavy as she walked home, her body aching from the day's torment. The streets were dimly lit, the flickering streetlights casting eerie shadows on the cracked pavement. Every step echoed in the silence, her mind still replaying Anna's cruel laughter and the sting of humiliation. By the time she reached her small home, the scent of lentils cooking filled the air. It was familiar, comforting even, but tonight it felt suffocating. She hesitated at the door, taking a deep breath before pushing it open. Her mother stood at the stove, stirring the pot with practiced ease. She didn't turn to look at Mira. "Why are you late?" she asked, her voice cold, sharp. Mira's throat tightened. "Sorry, Mom. There was extra work at school." Her mother didn't reply. Instead, she gestured toward the pile of dirty dishes in the sink. "Wash them, now!" The exhaustion in Mira's bones made her want to collapse, but she obeyed without a word. She stepped toward the sink, rolling up her sleeves, when suddenly the front door creaked open. The room tensed. Mira turned just in time to see her father step inside, his face shadowed with anger. Something was wrong. He stood still for a moment, staring at her. Then, without warning, he raised his hand and struck her across the face. The force knocked Mira off balance, sending her crashing onto the hard floor. Pain seared through her cheek, the sharp sting radiating through her skull. She gasped, pressing a trembling hand to her face. Her vision blurred with unshed tears. "What happened?" her mother asked, finally looking at her. There was no concern in her eyes, only irritation. "I got a call from the school." Her father's voice was low, dangerous. "They said you bullied the principal's daughter." Mira's blood ran cold. "No, Dad, that's not—" "Lies," he roared, his voice shaking the walls. "You're a disgrace. You're supposed to help this family, not bring us shame. You're nothing but a burden." His words sliced through her like a blade, deeper than any slap ever could. Mira swallowed the lump in her throat, her heart pounding against her ribs. "I'm leaving this house," she whispered, barely recognizing her own voice. The walls around her seemed to close in. She couldn't breathe. Before she could take a step, her mother's fingers tangled in her hair, yanking her backward. A scream tore from her throat as she stumbled, her skull colliding with the sharp edge of the wooden table. A sickening crack rang in her ears. Her vision exploded into white-hot pain before the world began to blur. A warm trickle of blood slid down her forehead, mixing with the tears she couldn't stop. Her knees buckled, the floor tilting beneath her. The last thing she heard was her mother's voice, distant, cold. "Ungrateful girl." And then, darkness. Mira awoke to a sharp, throbbing pain in her head. The room around her was dimly lit, the weak glow of the moon casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. She reached up, her fingers coming away sticky with half-dried blood. Her pillow was stained crimson, a stark reminder of the night before. For a moment she lay still, her body aching, her mind numb. The events replayed in her head like a broken record, the slap, the accusations, the betrayal in her father's eyes, the cruel grip of her mother's fingers as she yanked Mira's hair, the searing pain when her head collided with the table. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block it all out, but the images burned behind her lids. A distant creak snapped her back to the present. She turned her head slowly, heart hammering against her ribs. Silence. The house was still. Too still. She pushed herself up, ignoring the dizziness that followed. Stumbling towards the door, she twisted the handle, but it didn't budge. Locked. From the outside. A cold chill snaked down her spine. They locked me in. Panic surged through her, and she pounded against the wooden door. "Let me out!" she screamed, her voice raw and desperate, but no one answered. The house remained silent, indifferent to her suffering. Her breath came in ragged gasps as she backed away, her pulse roaring in her ears. They wanted to trap her in here like an animal, like a thing they could control. She had no doubt that by morning her punishment would continue. Another slap, another cruel word, another reminder that she was nothing but a burden. No, not anymore. She turned to her desk, yanking open drawers, her fingers scrambling through old notebooks and broken pencils. A familiar texture brushed against her fingertips. Her drawings, pages and pages of dark sketches, twisted faces with hollow eyes, monstrous shadows stretching across the paper. Her secret world, the only place she had ever felt safe. With a shudder, she pushed them aside, searching for something more important. Her hand closed around a small, cold object, the spare key. Her fingers trembled as she fitted into the lock. A quiet click, and the door creaked open. She stepped into the dark hallway, her breath slow and measured. The floorboards groaned beneath her bare feet as she moved towards the kitchen. Her heart pounded in her chest, but her steps were soundless, cautious. The gleam of the knives caught her eye. They sat neatly in a wooden block by the sink, their polished blades reflecting the dim light. Her fingers ghosted over them before curling around the handles of two. Heavy, solid, comforting. Her grip tightened as she turned toward her parents' bedroom. The door was ajar, a sliver of darkness stretching out from within. The sound of their steady breathing filled the silence. She stood over them, watching. Her mother's face was peaceful, her lips slightly parted. Her father's chest rose and fell, oblivious to the storm brewing mere inches away. Rage boiled beneath her skin, mingling with sorrow, betrayal, and something else, something deeper, darker. She clenched the knives until her knuckles turned white. Every scar they had left on her, every cruel word, every moment of agony, this was their repayment. Her breath hitched as she lifted the blade. The first plunge was met with a gasp, a jolt of movement. Her mother's eyes snapped open, her lips forming a silent scream. Blood bloomed across her chest, staining the sheets in dark crimson. Her father bolted upright, his face twisting in horror. "Mira!" She silenced him with a second stab, the knife sinking deep into his flesh. He clawed at her, his fingers digging into her wrist, but she twisted the blade, and his grip weakened. Again and again, a frenzied dance of steel and blood. When it was over, she staggered back, her breath ragged, her body trembling. The sheets were soaked in red. Their once living bodies lay still, their eyes vacant, staring at nothing. A strangled sob tore from her throat. The weight of what she had done crushed her, but she couldn't stop now. She had to erase everything, burn it all down. With shaky hands, she stumbled towards the kitchen. Her fingers fumbled as she grabbed a matchbox. The scent of gasoline filled the air as she doused the walls, the furniture, her childhood home. She struck a match. The flames erupted instantly, devouring everything in their path. The orange and hungry fire danced, casting long shadows against the walls. Mira stepped outside, the cold night air biting against her skin. She watched as the fire climbed higher, swallowing her past, her pain, her sins.
Mira's hands trembled as she wiped away the last remnants of her past. The flames consumed the house, erasing the evidence of her actions. She fled into the night, her mind a whirlwind of emotions, fear, guilt, and a strange sense of liberation. Days turned into weeks as Mira wandered through unfamiliar streets, her thoughts haunted by the faces of her parents. She barely slept, jumping at every shadow, every passing stranger. The city felt like a monster waiting to swallow her whole, and yet she had nowhere else to go. She found shelter in abandoned buildings, lived off scraps stolen from market stalls, and spent her nights curled up in alleyways. But no matter how far she ran, the echoes of her past followed her. Desperate for answers, she sought the help of a therapist, hoping to find solace in understanding her own mind. She used a fake name, a made-up story, anything to keep the truth buried beneath layers of deception. In the sterile confines of the therapist's office, Mira hesitated before speaking. The walls felt like they were closing in, the ticking clock on the wall counting down to something inevitable. What if someone killed their parents? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The therapist's eyes widened in surprise. That's a serious question. Why do you ask? Mira fidgeted with the hem of her sleeve. I know someone who did. Their parents were different. They drew disturbing images, scribbled strange things. The therapist leaned forward, concern etched on her face. Are you saying this person felt threatened by their parents? Mira nodded. Yes, they felt like their parents were unstable, like they were trapped in a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. The therapist sighed, folding her hands in her lap. It's possible the parents had psychological issues, but taking their lives, that's a drastic step. Mira's gaze dropped to the floor. What if the person had no other choice? What if it was survival? There's always a choice, the therapist replied gently. But sometimes people feel trapped, like there's no way out. And in those moments, they do things they can't take back. Mira's heart ached with the weight of her secret. What happens to someone who does that? They carry that burden forever, the therapist said softly. It's not something that goes away. Mira swallowed hard, a chill running down her spine. She wanted to believe she had escaped, that she was free. But deep down, she knew the truth. She would never outrun her own mind. And then, the door to the office creaked open, and a shadow fell across the room. Mira's breath hitched. The therapist's expression changed, her brows furrowing as she looked up at the unexpected visitor. Mira turned slowly, her body stiff with dread. The last thing she expected was to see someone who knew her real name.
Mira's heart skipped a beat as she turned slowly, the hairs on the back of her neck standing on end. Standing in the doorway of the therapist's office was a figure, tall, cloaked in a dark, flowing coat that covered him from head to toe. His face was obscured, hidden beneath the shadow of his hood, but there was no mistaking the unnerving presence he radiated. Her breath hitched, panic crawling up her throat. She glanced at the therapist, expecting her to acknowledge the intruder, but the woman remained still, her eyes locked on Mira, completely oblivious to the presence in the room. Who are you?" Mira asked, her voice trembling, her hands instinctively clutching the edges of the chair. Her heart raced, a cold sweat breaking out across her skin. The figure didn't move. It was as if he was made of the very shadows themselves, part of the room, yet not truly there. Mira's eyes darted to the therapist, but the woman was still focused on her, her brow furrowed in concern. "Mira?" The therapist's voice snapped Mira back to reality. "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" Mira's mind raced. The figure was standing right there, yet the therapist couldn't see him. Was it just her? Was she losing her grip on reality? Mira's gaze flicked back to the man in the shadows, her pulse quickening. She felt a cold shiver crawl up her spine as she slowly rose from her seat. She needed to leave. She needed to get out of there before whatever was happening consumed her completely. I need to go," Mira stammered, grabbing her bag and hurrying toward the door. The figure stood perfectly still, watching her, and Mira could feel his unseen eyes piercing through her as she passed. She stepped outside into the crisp air, gasping for breath. The city seemed colder than usual, the streets quieter, emptier. Mira's mind raced with questions, the nagging feeling that something far darker than she could comprehend was closing in on her. As she walked down the street, the weight of the encounter in the therapist's office pressed on her chest. She needed answers, but her mind was clouded with dread. The man in the shadows had said nothing, but the way he stared at her, the way he made her feel as if she was marked, was enough to send waves of fear through her. When she finally reached her apartment building, she hesitated at the entrance. The air felt thick with tension, and every step she took felt like it led her deeper into a trap. She pushed open the door and started up the stairs, her footsteps echoing through the narrow hallway. Suddenly, a voice, low and chilling, whispered in her ear. Mira froze. "Your time has come." Her blood ran cold. The voice was familiar, and yet not. It was the same deep, haunting tone that had lingered in the back of her mind since the moment she had seen the man in the shadows. She whipped around, but there was no one there. Her hands gripped the railing, her legs trembling beneath her as panic surged through her body. She stumbled up the remaining steps, each one feeling heavier than the last. By the time she reached her apartment door, she was shaking uncontrollably, her mind racing. What did he mean? Who was he? Why only her? Was she losing her mind? She fumbled with the keys, her hands shaking as she slid the key into the lock. The door clicked open, and she rushed inside, locking it behind her. Her heart was pounding in her chest, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Mira leaned against the door, trying to steady herself. The room was dimly lit, shadows creeping along the walls. But there was no sign of the figure, no sign of the voice. Yet Mira knew deep down that he was still there, watching her, waiting for the moment when she would unravel completely. The silence in her apartment felt suffocating, and she could almost hear the whisper again, like a faint echo lingering in the corners of her mind. "Your time has come." Her eyes darted around the room, but there was nothing but the shadows. She slammed the lights on, desperate to shake the feeling of being watched, but the air remained thick with unease. She collapsed on the couch, her hands clutching her head in frustration. She couldn't escape. The world around her felt suffocating, and it was closing in. And somewhere, deep in the recesses of her mind, she knew the man in the shadows wasn't just a figment of her imagination. He was real, and soon she would have to face him.
Haunted by guilt and the horrifying truth, Mira's grip on reality continued to slip. She isolated herself, avoiding human contact, afraid of the darkness she knew lived within her. Her apartment became a cage, silent, dim, and cold. The walls seemed to breathe, the shadows whispering things she couldn't understand. Sleep evaded her, and when it came, it brought nightmares soaked in blood and screaming. One evening, as she sat motionless on her worn-out couch, the television flickered on by itself, static buzzing before it switched to a live broadcast. The anchor's voice cut through the silence like a knife. "A series of gruesome murders have shocked the city." Mira barely reacted at first, until the next words made her stomach drop. The suspect, identified as Mira Thompson, is believed to have killed over 500 people. Authorities are urging anyone with information to come forward. Her blood turned to ice. 500? She stared blankly at the screen, heart pounding, breath caught in her chest. She had only killed her parents, right? That was all. That had to be all. But now she wasn't so sure. Had she blacked out? Forgotten something? Could she have done more and not remembered? A flicker of movement pulled her attention. In the corner of her vision, a shadow shifted. She turned slowly, fear crawling up her spine. A figure stood in the doorway. A man, face completely hidden behind a black mask. He didn't move. He didn't speak, but his presence sucked the air out of the room like a vacuum. "Who are you?" Mira asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. The man stepped forward, slow and deliberate, his footsteps heavy in the silence. "I am no one," he said, voice cold, low, and disturbingly calm. "But your death." Mira's heart slammed against her ribs. Her legs refused to move. The light bulb overhead flickered once, twice, and then burst. Darkness swallowed the room. Before she could scream, before she could think, everything vanished. She didn't pass out. She fell into the empty, endless abyss of her own mind. And the last thing she heard was the man's voice echoing in her skull. "Your time has come."
Mira awoke in a cold, damp room, her breath visible in the freezing air. Her head throbbed like a drumbeat from hell. The silence was suffocating. No windows, no clock, just the slow, rhythmic dripping of water echoing somewhere in the distance. She groaned and pushed herself up, hands trembling as she steadied against the wall. Her knees buckled, but she forced herself to stand. A faint light flickered above, dim, yellow, and barely enough to see. Two figures stood ahead, unmoving, watching, their faces hidden beneath the shadows. Her voice cracked. "Who are you?" The figure stepped forward. Her breath hitched. Familiar features emerged from the dark. Her parents. You're alive!" Mira gasped, stumbling back, horror freezing her limbs. Her father's mouth twisted into a slow, cruel smile. "Did you really think you could escape us?" "No," she whispered, shaking her head violently. "No, I killed you. I know I did." Her mother laughed, cold and brittle, the sound echoing off the walls like a curse. "Oh, sweetie, you can't kill what's inside your own head." The world tilted, the room spun, reality cracked like shattered glass. Mira clutched her head, dropping to her knees, her nails digging into her scalp. "This isn't real. None of this is real." But the floor seemed to breathe beneath her. The air grew heavier, the shadows longer. Her parents' bodies twisted, their limbs stretching unnaturally, faces warping, smiles splitting too wide, eyes too dark. "What's real doesn't matter," they spoke in unison, their voices distorted and layered. "Only the darkness within you does." Their figures surged forward, melting into one monstrous, shifting form made of faces, screams, and memories she'd buried deep. And then, a scream tore through the room, Mira's own. But no one heard. No one ever does in the mind of a monster. The next morning, the city awoke to the news of Mira Thompson's death. Her body was found in an abandoned building, surrounded by ashes, drawings, and blood, just like every other scene she'd left behind. But the truth was worse than anyone imagined. She had escaped from a mental facility just weeks prior, one that claimed she was making progress. The staff believed she was recovering, even arranging for a foster family to take her in. They never saw the signs. The night before the adoption, she burned the entire house down, with the family still inside. From there, Mira vanished into the shadows, her hallucinations stronger than ever, her grip on reality almost completely gone. She visited a therapist under a fake name, desperate for answers, but when the angel of death appeared in the room, Mira snapped. The therapist never made it out alive. The last days of her life were a blur of blood and whispers. She wandered the streets, hunted by shadows only she could see, until finally she returned to the only place that felt like home, the silence of abandonment. There, in that rotting building, she ended it. A final scream, a single match, and silence.
Epilogue: The unseen truth. The media painted her as a monster. Mentally unstable teen murders foster family. Runaway girl leaves trail of death. Psychotic killer dies in abandoned building. No one mentioned the drawings or the name she whispered again and again, the Angel of Death. Investigators found her sketchbooks, dozens of pages filled with the same figure, a man cloaked in black, face hidden, always watching, sometimes smiling, sometimes whispering, but always there. Psychologists blamed schizophrenia, hallucinations, trauma, but those who examined the sketches closely said one thing didn't add up: the eyes. No matter how many times she drew him, the angel's eyes were always different, human, alive, as if he was watching her draw him. And in the deepest corner of the last page, scribbled in her own trembling hand, "You'll see him too, one day." Did you think this is the end? Really? No. Lies, lies, lies. This was what everyone thought, except the Angel of Death. He's real. No one knew. But the real truth is, once upon a time, there was a girl who lived in a happy family. She had one brother and one sister, twins, just like any other family. They were the perfect picture of love and harmony. But something was different. She hated it when her siblings received attention from their parents. They were loved equally, cared for equally, and that hurt her. It felt like she was invisible. She should have been happy with her family's love, but instead she burned with jealousy, a jealousy that consumed her, slowly, day by day. It was the twins' birthday. The house was alive with laughter and joy, but she felt nothing but anger. Why should they always be the center of attention? She clenched her fists, watching as her parents showered the twins with love. Then came the gifts. Her parents gifted the twins luxury tablets. Not that fancy, just something teens would be happy with. But to her, it was the last straw. "Mom, really?" she snapped, glaring at her mother. "Why don't I get this much? Why always them?" Her mother smiled softly, trying to calm her. "But it's cheap. I got the best I could afford, and I always bring the best for you, too." "Oh, really?" she scoffed, her heart burning with rage. Before she could say more, her father intervened. "Enough of the fighting. We can't afford much. We brought what we could. Now stop." But inside, she was furious. No one understood. No one cared. After that day, everything changed. She became nice. Too nice. Sweet to the point that it felt unnatural. It was as though the sweetness was a mask, hiding the venom inside. But when someone suddenly becomes unnaturally sweet, can they be trusted? One day, her parents went out to a party. They would be gone the whole night. She turned to her siblings, a sly smile creeping onto her face. "Hey, I want to take you both somewhere special," she said, her voice soft but insistent. Her sister hesitated. "Isn't it too dark? Why don't we go tomorrow?" "No," she replied quickly. "It's special because it's night." Her brother, ever the curious one, grinned. "If she's insisting, we should go." Her sister sighed, but eventually agreed. "Okay, let's go." They booked a cab. It took an hour or two to reach their destination. And then they arrived at an abandoned building. Her sister's face paled. I don't know about this. It's too scary. Let's go back." But her brother, ever brave, urged, "Stop being scared, Kitty. Let's go inside." Inside the building, silence hung heavy. Her brother, now suspicious, asked, "What is this place?" She smirked with malice. "Your death place." With those chilling words, she ended their lives. No remorse, no hesitation. She killed them both without a second thought. Afterwards, she went to another cab and went home. She walked in as though nothing had happened, as if she had just spent the day like any other. But when she stepped inside the house, she found a man sitting on the couch. His face was completely covered.
"Who are you?" she asked, trying to hide her unease. The man's voice was cold, his words almost like a prophecy. "No one, but your time will come soon." Before she could respond, he vanished. Was it just her imagination, or was something more sinister at play? Her parents came home, and she rushed to them, feigning distress. "Mom, Dad, they went somewhere. I tried to stop them, but they didn't listen. They didn't come back." Her mother's face turned pale. "What? Let's report it to the police right now." Her eyes widened. "No, no need," she protested, trying to hide her guilt. But her father wasn't convinced. He said nothing, and they rushed to the police. Hours later, her parents returned. Their faces were swollen with tears. They had failed to find her siblings. "Where have you been?" her father snapped as soon as he entered. Without warning, he slapped her across the face. Her eyes widened in shock. "What? Why?" she gasped. Her father's voice was trembling with rage. "Why? What did they do to you? Why did you kill them? Why? Why did you do this to your own siblings?" She froze. "How did you know?" she whispered. But then the truth spilled from her lips, venomous and raw. "You say you love us all equally? Really? You never did." Her mother screamed back at her. "You killed them just because you were jealous? Because they got more attention? You wanted everything for yourself?" Her rage boiled over. She stormed to the kitchen, grabbed a lighter, and set the house on fire. Her parents screamed as they tried to stop her, but she locked them out and watched as everything burned. After the fire, she went back to the same abandoned building, the place where it all began. And there he was, the man. "Again?" she muttered under her breath. You will see me in every lifetime," he said. She blinked, confused. "What? What do you mean?" He ignored her question and instead said, "What should we call this? A punishment." And then, a scream. This was the beginning. The story began, and it would repeat over and over.
Do you think she was a victim or a monster from the very beginning? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If this story disturbed you, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more dark stories like this, because some horrors never end.